So how long does it take to start a nonprofit? We're going to talk about that today. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, this is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. I help people start their nonprofits and raise startup money. If you need help with your nonprofit, you should be subscribed to this channel because I help with all of the startup process when it comes to nonprofits. And I wanted to do a video on how long does it take to start a nonprofit, because that's a question that I often get. But here's the thing, if you watched any video on nonprofits, especially any of my videos, you'll notice that questions about nonprofits aren't always straightforward because there are a lot of caveats and there are a lot of conditions that may change what may be. And so I'm going to break that down a little bit in this video, but I'm just letting you know that the answer is typically it depends. Now, when we're talking about starting a nonprofit, and when I hear people say that, I assume people mean like, what does it take to actually establish you as a legal entity and get all your paperwork in and get your 501c3 status? So that's what I'm talking about today. So I want you to wait to the end because I want to give you a tip when it comes to the paperwork, and I want to make sure you get this so you don't get caught up in the paperwork and you can make sure you're starting at a good place. So if the question is generally how long does that take? It can take conservatively maybe 3 to 6 months on the low end, and it can take up to 6 to 12 months if your situation is a little bit complicated. But let me break down why that's different and how you can accelerate that timeline if you need to. So when you're starting a nonprofit, you just need to understand, and again, this is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, that there are different steps you have to take and they all don't happen at once. So you have to wait for something to happen and then you can take the next step, which impacts your timeline. So the very first thing you do is you incorporate your nonprofit. I'm talking in this video as if you are a nonprofit corporation. There are other types of nonprofits that you can establish in your state, but I'm just going to go with a nonprofit corporation. Usually in a state, it will take either a week on the low end up to a month to be able to hear back when you submit your articles of incorporation. Now, your articles of incorporation is the document that you put together that just says to the state, we are organizing as a business entity. And you're submitting that to the state and they are approving it. So the process of waiting for them to approve it depends. It depends on if you walk it into the state office, if they even let you do that. It depends on if you mail it. It depends on if you do it online. Of all the states that I've worked in to help establish a nonprofit, they all have an online option, and the online option is typically quicker. It may cost a little more. There may be like an expedited fee, but it's a little quicker. So again, if you're using the online version of a form, then probably from a week up to a month for the state to review your information and approve it. So that's the first step, right? The next step is you need your employer identification number, your EIN. You would get that from the IRS. Now, you can do that online and that can take 5 minutes, literally. Now, there's other processes you can use to get your EIN. You don't have to do it online, but obviously if you don't, that takes longer too for you to get your number. But it's really easy and free. Let me just say that, because a lot of people be scamming out here, charging people to get EINs, and it's completely free. You can just go to the IRS website and do that. If you need links to all this information or you need step-by-steps on how to do this, make sure you check out my free nonprofit startup checklist, which I'm linking below. Now, as I said, the EIN number takes 5 minutes or less to get. And then the next step is, if you are applying for 501c3 status, is to use the 1023 or the 1023 EZ form to apply to get your status. Now, here's another caveat. If you're using the EZ form, they will take up to 3 months to approve it. And if you're using the 1023 form, they're going to take up to 6 months to approve it. So that depends as well. So when I said in the beginning that it could be on the low end, 3 months, or up to the long end, 12 months, it just depends, right? So I'm giving you very big ranges because all of the factors about your organization matters. And if the IRS has questions about your application, there may be some back and forth on that as well. So just keep all that in mind when you're thinking about the timing that it takes to set up your nonprofit. So one question I do get is, can I expedite 501c3 status? There is a process by which you can expedite your status if you are waiting for a particular grant. And if your ability to get this grant is contingent on you getting 501c3 status, the IRS may accelerate it. Also, if you contact your state representatives, like your state senators, and ask them to intervene on your behalf, that may help to at least get you some answers or accelerate the process, just so you know. So I want to give you some information about how long it takes to start, but I still have some more information that I want to provide to you, okay? So I want to give you 2 points. The first point is, don't rush the paperwork. Now, I see this a lot. Nonprofit founders are so excited because they have a vision in mind and they just want to get started. And they know that once the paperwork gets in motion, it's official, and they feel like, okay, they can start going out there doing the work. But what I teach when it comes to nonprofits is that when you know you're going to start a nonprofit, your work starts immediately. A piece of paper doesn't necessarily validate you or gives you an artificial start. You should be starting, like talking to people, networking, refining your mission before you even put anything on a piece of paper. You should be gathering individuals who are interested just like you. You should be trying some things out. You should be volunteering for other organizations, gathering information, doing your research before you do paperwork. One of the reasons why you want to do that is you want to actually make sure that your idea is necessary or needed in your locality. Right? So you want to make sure that you're designing a program that actually has a good fit, that somebody or something actually needs it. There's actually a demand for it, right? And you also want to do your research to figure out, do you have the right ways to make money? Is it a compelling mission where people will support? So you need to take your time and figure that out and do your research. And you also just need to look at other organizations to get ideas from them for how you want to do your launch. Like, you don't want to go about this all willy-nilly and haphazardly. You want to have a plan, right? So take the time before you do your paperwork to get some of that in order first. I do have videos on this, so I'm just going to drop one video below just so you can link, so you can see the kind of things you should be doing before you start a nonprofit. And also, I have a nonprofit business bundle, which walks you through 3 workbooks to help you plan before you do your paperwork. So if you've decided for yourself, okay, I'm going to actually do this, and I know I want to have a nonprofit, the very next step is not to fill in the paperwork. The very next step is for you to start thinking about fleshing out your idea, making sure there's a need and demand for it, and see how other people, and to think about what ways you're going to support the sustainability of your organization to make sure you can stay around. So that leads me to point number 2. The only reason why I may go to paperwork quickly is if you're in a position where you know there's a demand for it already and people are expressing that they want to give you money, they want to support, and they're putting their money where their mouth is, right? So in order for you to safely, let me just say this, to be safe from income tax for yourself personally, to collect money, you need to go ahead and organize and create the legal entity so you can begin accepting money as a legal entity and you don't put yourself at risk when it comes to income tax. Now, in those situations, then it makes complete sense to hurry up and go through the paperwork process, because you're not going to be able to set up an organizational bank account unless you're actually established as an organization, until you get your EIN, all of that. So yes, get your paperwork in that sense, but still be clear on what your idea is, because you don't have to put that stuff down on the paperwork anyway. And let me just say this, you can incorporate as an organization and start doing work before you even apply for 501c3 status. 501c3 status does not make you a nonprofit. You organizing in your state as a nonprofit makes you a nonprofit. 501c3 status gives you tax exempt status from federal income tax, so that when you start making money, you're not taxed on it. Those are 2 different things, and you got to make sure you understand that. I did a video recently on this, so I'm linking it above so you can learn more information about 501c3 status. So I hope that information was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in starting your nonprofit, or you're a nonprofit founder, or just a business owner in the startup process, and you need community and you need help, please stay tuned, because I will be preparing a new initiative, a new program to help people just like you. Thank you so much for watching. If you need help, also make sure you check out bossonabudget.com. And I will see you in the next video.